Greetings and welcome to the Dr. J Blog Series. It's Saturday, May 3rd, 2025, and on Saturdays we look into sports and humor. Coming to you from London, Ontario, this is your dual citizen, American and Canadian citizen, Dr. J. So I want to give a different perspective because I know there's been a lot of talk recently about the United States absorbing Canada as the 51st state. And in fact, President Trump posted on his platform earlier this week on April 28th, when we had our election, the following. Good luck to the great people of Canada. Elect the man who has the strength and wisdom to cut your taxes in half, increase your military power for free to the highest level in the world. Have your car, steel, aluminum, lumber, energy, and all other businesses quadruple in size with zero tariffs or taxes if Canada becomes the cherished 51st state of the United States of America. No more artificially drawn lines from many years ago. Look how beautiful this landmass would be. Free access with no border. All positives with no negatives. It was meant to be. America can no longer subsidize Canada with hundreds of billions of dollars a year that we have been spending in the past. It makes no sense unless Canada is a state. Whew, well, that was quite a mouthful. And boy, is that not a tempting offer or what? I mean, that language, the wooing, it was meant to be. Well, that is unless, you talk about America subsidizing Canada and so forth. But I want to focus on the wooing aspect. So, but I'm wondering first, though, just all things considered, did Mexico get a similar or even better offer to join the U.S.? Now, I hate to sound like a jealous sibling, but I just want to be sure that, that we Canadians, that we'd be getting at least as good a deal as whatever's currently being offered to Mexico in that regard. My guess is that they're probably going to get a better deal. For example, Mexico will probably get a huge infusion of U.S. funds from all the billions of dollars that's going to be saved because the U.S. no longer has to build that almost 2,000-mile wall. More important, if the U.S. absorbs Mexico, that'll solve much of the illegal alien problem and the issues around undocumented agricultural workers, so on. So think of all the workers then who could finally enter without having to swim the Rio Grande, and all the families that would be reunited. And with Mexico as the 51st state, there'd be lower costs for many agricultural products and cars and auto parts, electronics, medical instruments, crude petroleum even, gems and precious metals, among other products. And so, and then bringing Mexico into the U.S. could allow lots of the illegal drug operations to just be absorbed into the corporate drug industry within the U.S. and providing then former drug dealers and those involved in large-scale grow operations to have legitimate, secure jobs with health benefits, as part of our health corporate sector. And they'd be earning U.S. dollars rather than Mexican pesos. So again, maybe that's another incentive to join. And also, with their 130 million people, Mexico would help solve the horrible problem in the United States in terms of their declining fertility rates, especially with the addition of nearly 100 million Mexican Catholics. So, look, I'm just worried that we may not, that is, we in Canada, may not be getting as sweet a deal as what I'm assuming President Trump is offering Mexico. So can someone, please, anyone out there, if you're listening to this vlog, can you please send me more information or a link regarding the deal that President Trump's currently offering Mexico? But regardless, from a Canadian perspective, I'd like to propose a counteroffer to the U.S. And specifically, I'm not sure that I have the authority to speak officially on behalf of the government of Canada, but nonetheless, President Trump, if you're listening, I'd like to offer you and the great people of the United States the chance to become part of Canada. Hear me out. While you've identified some potential benefits if Canada were to become the 51st state, I think we can offer even more to the U.S. if you'll join us to become part of the Great White North. I thought that the sound of that might have some special appeal to at least some of the folks down south. The Great White North is Canada. So I'd like to propose that, kind of like the board game Risk, that we divide the U.S. then into two halves, each of which would become two new provinces. And we'd make Alaska our fourth territory. Hawaii could be returned, I think, to become either an independent kingdom or republic like it was in the 19th century. Whatever their people decide, provided they give us discounted rates to come visit for holidays. I think that should really be a getaway destination. Anyway, I'd like to propose further then, just to clarify for my friends and neighbors to south of the border, that we add the U.S. and that you become essentially the 11th and 12th provinces. So for those of you who don't know, Canada currently has 10 provinces: Newfoundland and Labrador, like the retriever, Prince Edward Island, Nova Scotia, New Brunswick, Quebec, Ontario, Manitoba, Saskatchewan, Alberta, and British Columbia. We could easily add the western U.S. and the eastern U.S. as provinces number 11 and 12. We could even have a cool naming contest for the two new provinces. Right? We might call the western U.S. something like Apache Land, or just Colorado. Who doesn't love Colorado? We might call the eastern U.S. something like Washington, or Lincolnistan, or Nixonia, or Trump Land. Again, just something after one of the many great U.S. presidents. So, and then Alaska could just keep their name and become the fourth territory. So here is my map of what I'm proposing. There we go. Nice, eh? Yeah, I've labeled the 10 original provinces with their two-letter designations up here, and internationally, actually, for that matter. And then I've spelled out the two new provinces there from the United States, which will be joining us. And then, of course, you can see the 4 territories across the top here, right? Alaska, Yukon, Northwest, Nunavut. And there's the Hudson Bay. If you're huge water, if you want to go do some really cool fishing or other things, you got to check out the Hudson Bay. Okay, so yeah, there you go. So we have 12 provinces and 4 territories with the Dr. J proposed merger, whereby Canada absorbs the United States of America. Okay, so what are the benefits? Well, for starters, there will be some, not all, but some reduced taxes. So in 2024, Canada's top federal income tax, the rate was 33%. In the US, the top federal rate was 37%. So that should appeal to the wealthiest amongst your population. Now, to be fair, the U.S. currently has 7 federal tax brackets, ranging from a low of 10% to the high of 37%. In Canada, we only have 5, ranging from 15 to 33%. Now, in addition, in 2024, Americans paid 7.65% on Social Security income up to $168,600. In Canada, employees contributed 5.95% to the Canada Pension Plan on earnings up to $66,600 Canadian. If you're poor in the U.S., you'll find that you're less likely to live in poverty if you live up here in Canada, or if you become part of Canada due to the more extensive social safety net. And you're less likely to be homeless for that matter. So verily I say to thee, give me your tired, your poor, your huddled masses yearning to breathe free, the wretched refuse of your teeming shore. Send these, the homeless, tempest-tossed to me. I lift my lamp beside the golden door. I know I've heard that somewhere or read that somewhere. But I think that should be our motto. Heck, in most places, if you come to Canada, you don't even have to lock your door, the door of your home. But don't be shocked if some rando just wanders in. Don't be too afraid, though, because they'll probably be incredibly polite. Thank you if you'll just offer them a beer and some poutine. The one negative, though, the median income in the U.S. is higher than in Canada. It's about $70,000 in U.S. dollars compared to only about $68,000 in Canada, and that's in Canadian dollars. So think about the exchange rate. But if we get together, we can eliminate the whole currency exchange thing, right? And we can just use the Canadian dollar. That way, you'll never have to worry about accidentally giving somebody the wrong bill, for example, like a $20 bill instead of a $10 bill. Why? Well, we're smart. We decided long ago to color our different bills, different values, right? So there you see the 5, the 10, the 20, the 50, and the 100, the front and the back. See that Monopoly money? It's all color coordinated. You never get confused. And besides, look at the fun designs on the back as well. Look at the back of the $5 bill, for example, where they're playing hockey on a frozen pond. Isn't that beautiful? By the way, that's called shinny, or pond hockey up here in Canada. Okay, so more important though, do you value your health? Well, if you do, have I got a deal for you? First, you'll have access to our universal healthcare system, covering everyone no matter what, no matter where they live in the country. And people no longer have to worry about purchasing private health insurance or being denied coverage. Okay? No longer would you have tens of millions of people uninsured. Furthermore, you'd eliminate all those people who have had to declare bankruptcies due to medical emergencies or expenses that they could no longer afford or that they couldn't pay off. And speaking of affordability issues, you'd get the universal and comprehensive health care, of which I spoke a moment ago. And you'd get all of that for about half of what you're currently paying, at least on a dollars per capita basis. No matter where you live, you'd get that access. No matter whether you're working or not, no matter who you are, everyone's covered. And again, that's why we call it universal health care. And that's probably related to another important benefit if the US were to join Canada. Are you interested in living longer? Well, join Canada and reap the benefits of a long life. Follow our lifestyle. Take advantage of what we have to offer. And guess what? Well, for women, you'll gain about 5 years in life expectancy by joining Canada, going from an average of 79 in the US to 84 when you become part of Canada. We just stamp that right on your passport right away. Boom, you get 5 more years. And then in addition, for men, it's even better. You'll get 6 additional years in life expectancy from just under 74 to just about 80 years. Who's going to argue with that? Oh, and speaking of health, regardless of gender status, by joining Canada, you'll enjoy lower death rates for most major diseases, measured by rates of death per 100,000 population, so standardized. So you'll enjoy lower death rates due to heart disease, stroke, kidney disease, chronic obstructive pulmonary disorders, and even COVID. Yeah, we have lower rates of deaths due to COVID as well. Now, that said, there are some negatives. You'll have to adapt possibly to suffering slightly higher rates of lung, colon, and rectal cancers up here. But again, on balance, I think you're going to do a lot better. You're going to be a lot healthier. You're going to live a lot longer. For that matter, hey, do you feel like you're working too hard down there for those bucks that you see up there on the screen? Not enough time off? Well, join Canada, and most of you will get at least an extra week on average annually of paid vacation. More important, if you have kids, and this is a biggie, you can take up to a year on maternity leave. And in fact, up to 18 months now in Canada, or combined maternity and paternity leave. And you don't have to worry about losing your job compared to 6 weeks in the US, maybe 3 months? Way better for you, for your kids, for your family. Don't feel like working? That's cool. We have a slightly higher unemployment rate up here at about 5% compared to 4% in the US. But we don't stigmatize the whole, hey, I need to find myself before I get tied down with the career thing, We don't worry about that up here. Take as long as you like. And besides, you can typically get an additional 10 to 20 weeks of paid unemployment insurance up here as well. So don't worry about getting laid off. You'll have a lot more time to just chill. So, and while you're chilling, you'll also have free access then to our beautiful lands up here. basically doubling the size of your country if you join us, right? And plus, there's a lot more undeveloped and unpopulated lands up here too, especially because about 2/3 of our population basically lives within about 100 kilometers of the border that currently exists between our two beautiful countries. Right, that's about 62 miles. Which reminds me, you'll have to learn the metric system, which I suppose you could interpret as a positive or a negative, depending especially on whether you like science or not. Now, for me, I'm fluent in both languages and both systems. So if you want to know the temperature in Fahrenheit or Celsius, just ask me. Call me anytime. Okay? For that matter, do you love languages as much as President Trump? What am I talking about? Well, have a look.
That is the most beautiful language. I have no idea what he's saying, but that is the most elegant, beautiful language. That is...
Right? Yeah. See how excited President Trump is as he listens to the French President Macron? Well, anyway, however you say it, the point is, see how excited he got, right? He was just gushing. And so the president and all of our 340 million newly minted Canadian citizens would at least finally live in a country that's formally and legally bilingual, English and French. And you could tell from my French accent that I'm quite fluent in French as well. How awesome is that, right? And thus you'd have access to the beautiful and, quote, elegant language that President Trump was gushing about there in the video clip. And by the way, see how the language brings people together and creates real intimacy? I mean, the two presidents can barely keep their hands off of each other. Get a room, you two. Anyway, the point is that you'll double your language capacity. And we could finally discard that old joke, right? Do you remember that one? What do you call somebody who speaks 3 languages? Trilingual. What do you call someone who speaks 2 languages? Bilingual. And what do you call someone who speaks 1 language? American. No longer would you have to suffer the indignity of that particular joke. More generally, do you like cleaner air? Do you like less stress? Do you love curling? I'm talking about the sport, not your hair. Do you just value happiness? Well, if you do, we do better on all of those indicators up here in Canada. So join us, won't you? Oh, by the way, do the murder rates keep you up at night down in the States? Well, by becoming part of Canada, you'll enjoy much lower murder rates, usually about 1/3 as high as in the US most years. So, my southern neighbors, I invite you to join us to take advantage of our higher quality of life and the lower violent crime rates. You just have to be cool with somewhat higher property crime rates up here. I'm thinking that really maybe we should start locking our doors a bit more. But anyway, and do you like winter? Well, we have more of that too. I mean, at least our ski resorts still have snow on a regular basis, so that's another positive. And, by the way, you'll win a lot more medals at the Winter Olympics. Look at the 2022 Beijing Winter Olympics. You only won 25 medals, total medals, again, with a population of 340 million. Canada, with only 40 million, 41 million maybe, we won 26 medals. We actually won 1 more medal than you folks did. But anyway, I don't want to get into, a sibling rivalry thing. Just come join us, and together we'll have won 51 medals in 2022. And that combined 51 medals, by the way, puts us at number 1 on the list, far ahead of Norway, which was number 1 with 37 medals. So, you like sports and competition? Join us. Okay? And what about politics? Are you tired of the endless campaigning? Sometimes it seems like it lasts a year or 2 years. It almost seems like they start campaigning for the next presidential election as soon as you finish the last one. So join us up here in Canada. You know what happened here? The Prime Minister called for an election on March 24th, and then the country voted 5 weeks later on April 28th. Done. That's that. Right? And by the way, do you hate the wealthy donors and the corporations that basically have unlimited capacities to donate and finance the elections, and especially the ruling of Citizens United, that Supreme Court ruling that basically opened the floodgates? Well, guess how the funding works up here in Canada? Well, Canada's federal finance laws put limits on the contributions to the political parties and the candidates. Yes, there's some fixed federal funding that supports everybody in the business, but guess what happens in terms of private funding? This is absolutely true. Only individuals, not corporations, not even trade unions, can donate. So as of 2025, contributions were limited to up to $1,750 per year to each political party, and up to $1,750 to each registered electoral district association. I don't think of the way we distribute things in terms of the House of Representatives, population basis. Right? Basically, you can just give chunks of $1,750 to each candidate that you like, including each party's leadership candidate, but only once for each. And then the campaigns have to disclose the names of anyone who donates more than $200. So my point is you're going to also then save tons of money in terms of political campaigns and the funding. And there's far less corporate and wealthy elites who are taking over the elections and influencing things with their massive donations, and less international interference as well, I think. But you know what else? We get our results the next day. Don't you love that? Right? And we do it, by the way, after we count the ballots in each riding by hand. That's right. We count them by hand. We literally fold our ballots, we drop it in the box, and then you've got all the folks there, the election officials, and they count them in each riding by hand. I'm not kidding. Nothing electronic. So even more appealing, are you tired of the two-party system that dominates in the United States? No problem. You have a lot more choices if you'll just join us here in Canada. You want to be a standard conservative or a Reagan Republican, the way the GOP used to be in the US? Fine. Join the Conservative Party of Canada, or CPC. You'll have solid representation at both the federal and provincial levels, and a fair degree of power, especially in Alberta and Saskatchewan. Think Kansas, but with more of a northern accent. Or think of Doug Ford, Ontario's wildly popular conservative premier, recently elected for the third consecutive time to lead the country's most populous province. Or are you more of a traditional Democrat? Then join the Liberal Party, who just won the latest federal election. The main difference? The Liberal or a Democratic candidate here, our new Prime Minister, Mark Carney, he's actually an economist and a banker. He also went to Harvard as an undergrad and played backup goalie on their varsity hockey team. So there's already a neat little connection in that regard. But then he also holds a master's degree and a doctorate from Oxford, so you might find him a bit too overeducated for the job, but we'll see what happens. Okay, are you a bit further left? More of a democratic socialist? Well, then you can finally spread your wings and flex up here with the NDP, the New Democratic Party. Think of the more progressive Democrats in the US rather than the corporate Dems. Do you like Bernie Sanders or AOC? Then you're well on your way to joining the NDP, or might be if you come up here to Canada. And yes, you can go green in Canada too. Not only is there a Green Party of Canada, but there's actually one elected member of Parliament, or MP, kind of our House of Representatives. But there's actually one who's a member of the Green Party. Okay, but what if you're a French separatist or a nationalist who happens to be living in the US? Well, have I got a political option for you? In that case, you could join the Bloc Québécois. Who are they? Yeah, they're a real and an active party based in Quebec, as you might expect from the name, and they want French separatism or nationalism. That's kind of their thing. They tried to get a vote. They tried to separate from the country back in '95, but like Texas, or like the mafia, they just got sucked back in, right? It's hard to get out of the family. But anyway, yeah, and they actually have significant representation too. They actually, at the federal level, they actually have 22 members of parliament, from the Bloc Québécois. And there's also, by the way, a Libertarian Party for you rugged individualists out there. And there's an official Communist Party of Canada that values, quote, peace and prosperity, not war and austerity, end quote. That's their actual slogan. But we also have the Marxist-Leninist Party of Canada, too. They're different, and yet seemingly similar, no? Anyway, I think they're hiding somewhere in Quebec. I don't really hear much from them. And we also have everything from the Animal Protection Party of Canada to the Christian Heritage Party, that latter of which supports a Christian democracy founded on Judeo-Christian principles. But wait, I hear you. I know some of you out there. You're listening and you're thinking to yourself, wait a minute. What if you're more of a MAGA Republican? Is there a place for you up here in Canada? I don't have a MAGA hat on. I have my toque on, but I just want to reassure you, if you are a MAGA person, all right? How do I reassure you? What can I offer you in that regard? Well, let me ask you further. Do you reject climate change alarmism? Yes or no? I mean, I'm oversimplifying. Do you want to impose a moratorium on immigration? And would you just love to deport illegals? Yes or no? Do you want to preserve true Canadian values and get everyone to eventually melt or blend in with the dominant Canadian culture? Do you like the idea of requiring newcomers to pass a test to assess the extent to which they share real Canadian values and norms? Do you favor having liberal gun laws and allowing every Canadian citizen the right to defend oneself with force, and especially the use of and including deadly force to defend yourself against intruders, especially into your home? Do you favor not getting involved in endless foreign wars, withdrawing from the UN, getting out of things like the Paris Agreement on climate change, and getting out of the World Health Organization? You want to get out of the business of providing international aid or helping less developed countries? Are you anti-trans or anti-LGBTQ? Do you oppose abortion? Are you anti-woke in general? Are you just an old-fashioned racist? Well, if you answered yes to any or all of the above, we have a party for you. It's the People's Party of Canada, or the PP Party as I call it. And their numbers are growing, seriously. They're approaching the 1 million membership mark. I think it's like 800,000, but they're getting up there. They're getting close to 1 million. And I think they'd be especially interested in building a network with the MAGA movement south of the border. Now, that's my impression anyway. In fact, the latest polls indicate that in the United States, about 36% of registered voters identified themselves as MAGA supporters. Well, needless to say, I think the PP Party would love to hook up with you, friends with benefits, and maybe come up with some kind of a bolder blended acronym. I was thinking about something like, Make United States Canada Tremendous, reciting utterly meaningless platitudes. And then the acronym would be Musk Trump. Anyway, see what you think. But best of all, do you like humor? Sarcasm? Irony? Parody? Political satire? Well, if you do, have I got a country for you. Canada. We thrive on that type of humor up here in Canada. And by the way, do you want to just hear people apologize? People don't say I'm sorry enough, do they? Well, we do here in Canada. Join us, won't you? Every other public comment involves something like, sorry, I'm sorry about that. Sorry, oh, I'm so sorry. Sorry, bud. You first. No, I don't mind. No, I'll wait. Sorry, my fault. My bad. No, sorry, I don't speak French. Sorry, here, take my seat. Oh, sorry, take my wife. Oh, sorry, that was sexist. Yeah, so we're happy to apologize. We say sorry for just about everything. But we're not sorry for having our own frickin' country. It's kind of like that scene from Toy Story. Do you remember that? When Woody tells, he's talking to Sid, and he says something like, "That's right, I'm talking to you, Sid Phillips," We don't like being blown up, Sid, or smashed or ripped apart, or becoming the 51st state. I added that part. From now on, you must take good care of your toys, because if you don't, we'll find out, Sid. We toys, and Canadians, can see everything. So play nice. In the meantime, may you and yours continue to create peace in your lives, nurture love in your hearts, and dole out hugs in abundance, regardless of which side of the 49th parallel you might live on. If you want to come to Canada, give me a shout. Again, I have membership in both countries. I'll be honest with you. You want to know? See you soon.